Chelsea won, West Ham United nil, Janusz Michallik. Can I use the phrase never in doubt with my tongue firmly in my cheek? They got there, didn't they?
That's all that matters, right? You didn't like it? I mean, look, it hasn't been easy for Chelsea, in particular at home. We all know that, losing 3 in all competitions. And it didn't look like they were going to win this game, did they? Of course, I suppose that Jorginho owes Christian Pulisic dinner at the very least. In that one, yeah, it wasn't pretty. Ultimately, Chelsea got it done. A number of circumstances, of course, come into it when you speak about Chelsea in general.
When you look at the first half and how slow the possession was for Chelsea, and the fact that they get it done, it's the old there's no diagrams in a scorecard here. This is about stopping the flow of teams coming to Stamford Bridge and scoring goals and getting a clean sheet and getting 3 points. So is it one of these for Thomas Tuchel that in the next 2 or 3 weeks is forgotten about? It was all about getting the job done on the day?
Yes, I think, we found out a lot of things. And again, I almost feel like I need to be apologetic for Chelsea in so many ways. And today, I think, what this game has proven to me that, of course, Chelsea are not a possession team against low block teams. And, in general, and, when you talk about West Ham, even though they had a makeshift defense and then, a lot of changes anticipating the Europa League game against Eintracht Frankfurt, I think we saw it. I mean, the best chances that came Chelsea's way were in transition. They're not a counterattacking team. They're a team in transition. We've seen a couple looks or half looks from Timo Werner, who's been much, much better as of late, right? Scoring goals. Why? Because in the games that he has scored, the games were pretty open and they were in transition. And today we saw the goal, of course, from Christian Pulisic, where Mason Mount drove Chelsea. Great ball from Marcos Alonso, and then Christian Pulisic puts it away. So I think it was a microcosm of Chelsea in so many ways, because that struggle is real. Let's face it. I mean, they didn't have wing backs. Reece James didn't play, of course. Ben Chilwell for a long time hasn't played. Hudson-Odoi in terms of pace, and that sort of creativity in the center of the pitch is missing. Although I wonder a little bit about that, because in Mason Mount, I suppose Christian Pulisic, when he plays, and you think of Jorginho, they have the players that should be able to open up teams like West Ham at times, or a little bit more often. So that's one where I struggle with. But in terms of getting behind, they've had those issues, and they're obvious because they're missing key players.
Let's talk about Christian Pulisic. That's his 5th Premier League goal of the season. He's only started 10 or 11 games, come off the bench in 6 or 7 of them. That's a good return. What does he have to do to become a first team regular, a starter every week at Chelsea? Or the way that they play, is there no one guaranteed a starting spot on a weekly basis?
Nobody really is. Consistency. I think Thomas Tuchel has been pretty good with his players. If you're playing well, you're going to continue to play. And you see the front three as of late, right? I mean, look, Timo Werner has had to work so hard to even get to the place where he's at, right? I mean, I admire him for his, for his work ethic, body language, professionalism, because I'll tell you what, I'm not sure if there's anybody other than Lukaku that has gotten more criticism in the league, never mind for Chelsea. I mean, it's been incredible. And yet every time I see him, he works hard. I think Christian does as well. I think for him, it's more mental, because I think he still gets down a little bit more when he doesn't play. But, this is Chelsea Football Club. It's so many players that have to sit on the bench, just like at Liverpool, just like at Manchester City. And I think you have to learn to live with that. And every time you get a chance, you've got to do what he's done today, right? I mean, he's going to get the benefit of the doubt, I would imagine, in the next game.
Here's one from left field. Right now, who's Chelsea's unsung hero?
I think it's Mason Mount. I think he's been the most consistent player, the best player, right? I mean, I think the entire team to some degree is, right? With everything that he's had to deal with. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, sometimes we don't want to say the most obvious things, right? Because, people will say, well, everybody can say that. But what's happening around Chelsea isn't conducive to playing well all the time, right? I mean, look, I look at Chelsea Football Club, and I think this is a very good season for them. Regardless, I would have said the same thing even if they didn't win today. Club World Cup, I know how everybody looks at it, but it's a trophy, 2 cup finals, and 1 they can win. this is not bad for a third place team. And they're in third place for a reason, because you have two absolutely dominant teams in Liverpool and Manchester City, where even a team like Chelsea, can jump over. And, you can anticipate a million things, Mark, right? In terms of a coach, injuries, form. But how do you anticipate a war? How do you anticipate you owner that's going to be, is going to have his club taken away from him for the right reasons, right? This was one of the most stable clubs in the world, and just overnight, just like that, that goes. I mean, it affects the players, not to mention some key players out of contract. We know Rudiger is going to be leaving. There are a couple other ones that are still in question. So look, overall, I think it's been a good season. And let's not forget, they can still win the FA Cup, right?
Yeah, indeed. And of course, West Ham, no points here when it looked for so long they were going to get one. Another defender unavailable now, with Craig Dawson getting that red card after the yellow card was quite correctly upgraded to a red card. It was a difficult one for them, because it was like commentating on Valencia last week in La Liga, just a few days before they were playing in the Copa del Rey final. They didn't really want the game to take place at Villarreal. This was the same. I mean, this wasn't a game that West Ham, I know they were trying to get fourth, and it's going to be very difficult for them, but both their eyes are on Eintracht Frankfurt on Thursday, and that's their main aim, because you know what? They're only 2 games away from a final potentially, and then 90 minutes potentially away from the Champions League. That's going to be their best route into Europe's premier competition next season now.
Yes, it was an admission with that lineup of priorities, and David Moyes didn't hide that in the pregame interview as well. Almost wonder if they could have gone for it, really, because I mean, not playing the top players kind of almost made it harder on Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Like you expect the best team, where I think West Ham would have asked probably more questions if they had the first 11 out there. I almost think that there was, right after at halftime, I was thinking to myself, maybe you put the likes of Jared Bowen and Mikel Antonio or Declan Rice and go for it, right? Because I mean, I'm not saying that West Ham aren't going to make it to that it's going to be difficult, but I just thought this was an opportunity to put pressure on the likes of Arsenal and Spurs and maybe go for 3 points here, because you know what? Yes, they are in the semifinal, but that's going to be massively difficult for West Ham to win it anyway. So I would have given it a try a little bit earlier, I think, if I were West Ham in the second half, because Chelsea certainly didn't look at their best.
No, they didn't, but they get all 3 points. And you know what? In a 38-game season, you're not going to be able to play your best every single week. You're going to need to get games like this when you don't play well, but you still find a way. And that's exactly what Chelsea did. A big 3 points for Thomas Tuchel's men at the Bridge.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.